right? It executes some code and try to access to some IP REST IP and try to call a far database, right? So the pod is a sim that is ready. So when the client will send a request to the pod, then it will have it will has a timeout error because the app that is within the pod is not responding. It's still running, is not ready as the pod sticks trying to to say in trying to say that everything is ready to run, but instead the app is not running, is not ready for that. So that is the readiness, and there is the the liveness. The liveness is we assume that we are running our app. That's for our app is ready, our pod is ready, and after a time our app is break it down. So next time when the new user will try to access to our app, there will be an error and it will face a timeout issue. Why? Because our app is crashed down. So to avoid that, we have to create a liveness inside our pod. So if we have to set a specific time that every time the pod will send a request to the app to check whether if the app is healthy or unhealthy. For example, if we have multiple pods, right? So sorry. For example, if I have multiple pods, right? Sorry. Right? So, for example, this pod here, this app is crashed down, and the user try to send traffic to this app. Then we have user that send traffic to this pod, for example, and traffic here, right? We have load balancer here, for example. The pod, what must to do? Every time send requests to the app to check whether if the application is healthy or not. If it is healthy, then it will allow the traffic to go to the app. Otherwise, it will not allow this user to send the traffic to this app, but instead of that, it will redirect or forward that traffic to the other pod where the application is healthy. That is the liveness. So I hope that you understand well the liveness and the readiness. And I will explain this very well in my next videos about the Kubernetes and about the DevOps in general. So let me come back here, right? So all the paths are ready now. So to check that, I have to go to my worker private address, then paste it here, public address, then come back here and check what is the port that the EC2 insists is listed on it. It is 30,700. So here I have to type that here and then click enter. So if everything is worked properly as we expected, so we must to have a respond and we must to register and we must to login. So to do that, let me go to the login, right? Then sign up, then get a name, then an email, then a password, then sign up. Okay, never, then retype the password I have entered earlier and login. So everything works as we expected and we have welcome Abdel. So now if I try to go and to see the credential of this user on my pod.db, this is the ID of my pod, right? So to override or to have to overcome this issue, or because I cannot remember this pod here, right? It has long ID, right? And every time it is stopped and rebooted, it will change its name. So I have to have a stable name for my pod, right? For example, to have MongoDB dash mongo-db.0 instead of this long ID of my pod that I cannot remember it. And if I remember it next time, it will be regenerated again, and I have to retype it again. So to overcome this issue, Kubernetes come with a solution. We have previously discussed what is the daemon set, but in this case we will use something called the stateful set. Let's give you an illustration and cover you or give you an explanation what is the stateful set. The stateful set, right, is, for example, I have a deploy. For example, let me come here and give you here instead of in the kind deployment, we'll type stateful stateful set, right? And what this stateful set will do? For example, that's in the replica set, we have 3 replica sets. So this stateful set will create for us 3 pods, right? Nice. That is true. It will create for us 3 pods. First, then the second, then the third one, right? Then call it pod 1, and this would be pod 2. And here we'll have pod 3. And for example, we have called this deployment, give it a name, that is MongoDB, right? So the stateful set will assign a name for each pod incrementally. What means that? That the first pod will call it mongo-b-0, right? Then the second call it 1, and then the third call 3. Even if this pod is stopped and rebooted again, it will have the same name. So the stateful set give a pod a stable name that will be not changed in the next time. It will be assigned for it until it's dead, until we remove the cluster, right? And another thing about stateful set, if we have 3 replica, or if we have a replica set that contains 3 pods, so the first thing that the stateful set will create is the first pod, and until this pod is running successfully and healthy, then it will create the second pods, and then if this pod is running successfully, then it creates the third pod. We assume that this pod is created and it is unhealthy. It will not create the second pod until you create the first pod. Then the same thing.